Comedian, DJ, songwriter, TV producer, councilman at large, attorney, entrepreneur, and cat trainer. Those are just 8 titles on the smorgasbord that is Adam Dredd's resume. If the name sounds familiar, you may have voted for or against him, been represented by him in court, or run across him cleaning the beaches of Nantucket in his trademark Pulitzer wardrobe.
I have the Nantucket Clean Team, and it's a whole crew, and folks from here come do it, from Nashville when they're up. If you're my house guest, you have to do it. It's a rule. Saturday morning at 8 a.m., we're on a different beach or a different bike trail or road for an hour picking up trash. We're getting thousands and thousands of pounds of trash. And it's, the litter thing is a problem. It's not necessarily intentional. It's landscaping trucks, stuff blows off, stuff like that.
Have you ever found anything valuable or scary?
Scary stuff, yeah, but not valuable. They wanted to, as a way to have kids who get in trouble to come do their public service. Like, we don't want them. They're just going to stand there and look at their watches and their phones while we pick up trash.
We only had about 30 minutes to catch up, and I mustered the courage, see what I did there, to get a little serious with Dredd about his health. I'm Demetria Kalodimos. It's Banner and Company. Okay, I gotta start with a little throwaway line found on your Wikipedia. Quoting, born with a different birth name, he had his name legally changed to Adam Dredd as an adult.
That is true.
Do you ever spill these details?
I mean, it's not a big deal. My dad was a pretty famous artist. In fact, the Arts Awards in Pittsburgh are named after him. They're called the Harrys, and his name was Harry Schwab. A couple things. Being under his shadow and not being an artist was kind of a pain. Do you have his talents? Do you have this or that? And I needed a better name for stand-up comedy and radio. And I got on radio. Kurt Denny said, "You are dreadful." And I go, "Ooh, Dredd." And I was Adam Dredd in 1982 or 3. And I just started being called that. And then I started getting checks written to me for comedy or other stuff. So I legally changed my name to Dredd.
So Schwab?
Schwalb. It's a tough one. Also, as a stand-up comic, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Adam Schwab. It's a tough one. Dredd works in a lot of ways because it gives people, they get a little scared. They think I'm going to be a Rastafarian as well, which is kind of fun. But True. It means to inspire fear or awe, which I kind of like as well.
The two extremes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is your dad's artwork available to see in museums and stuff?
You can Google Harry Schwab. He was very upset about me having more Googles than him before he died. There's a personality clash there, too. He is in pretty much every major corporate art collection in Pittsburgh and New York. In his last one-man show, I was there, this is probably in the early 2000s, and it was one painting or a picture. His medium was India ink on rice paper. Ooh. And it was prints of the same thing called McKee House, and it was 100 prints, all framed, all around this gallery, and it sold out in 30 minutes.
Wow.
It was just insane. So that's his main piece if you look him up.
So was he feeding the family with art?
No, he was a director at Fisher Scientific. Remember the test tubes in high school? That was him. He was head of creative director, all marketing, advertising, all had to go through him. So he was very creative.
Very.
Yeah.
The apple didn't fall far. Do you do any sketching or noodling?
I honestly don't do anything like that. But he was the MC of, I guess here we have WPLN in Pittsburgh, QED. The great TV auction every year was their fundraiser. And he was always the head of the arts. And he was very involved there with Mr. Rogers and all those guys back in the day in Pittsburgh.
Does a guy with a background in comedy move part-time to Nantucket just for the constant punchline?
No. It's even funnier. I went there because I was going to go to the Vineyard, and I was dating a girl whose family had a house there, and we broke up right before the end of school, and I said, "Blanket, I'm going to Nantucket." And that's how I got there. And ironically, I don't know where your camera is, but the most famous limerick in the world is "The Man from Nantucket."
Yep.
And so anyway, I bought www.nantucket.org because somebody had .com. 10 years ago, I get a call from these Russians. They go, "You own manfromnantucket.org. We own .com. We sell to you for 80,000 US." And I go, "I'll give you $70." And they go, "Okay." So I own the most famous limerick in the world for $70. So anything with Man from Nantucket on it. So I have a merch site, manfromnantucket.com, and these medical alert bracelets are on there. And all the money, by the way, all the proceeds go to my animal charities. I don't keep a penny of it. But on the back of it, if a first responder finds me on the side of the road, which unfortunately they often do, but when you flip it over, for medicine, allergies and stuff, it just says, "Delete browser history."
And people are wearing these?
Oh, yeah. I sold like 400 of them.
Who first told you were funny? Or how did you know?
Gosh. I used to tell people I wasn't the class clown, but I used to open up for them. In early grade school, I was just a class clown. And I think I was trying to compete with my father back then.
Yeah.
Couldn't then, but eventually did.
How did your path lead to Vanderbilt? Because that's how we inherited you.
You got me because this is funny too. In Vanderbilt, I have mixed feelings about my former school now, even though I tailgate all the football games and everything. But I couldn't go there now. There's no way I would get in. A lot of my friends, when I was fundraising for our reunion, I'd called my fraternity brothers going, "Hey, we're all going to give such and such." He goes, "To hell with Vanderbilt." And I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "I went there, my dad went there, my kid's qualified to get there, can't get in." And because he's a legacy. They're prejudiced against legacies now. Now, if he was a, bisexual Haitian intravenous drug user, quadriplegic, bam, right in. I mean, they're trying to get as much diversity into the student body as possible to the point where they're pushing away the folks who have legacy there. And I believe in diversity and getting all kinds of people in, but not at the expense of somebody who's actually more qualified, whose family went there and wanted to continue a family tradition. So I actually had to resign from that position because I had 6 people at least tell me repeatedly on the phone, "We're not giving a penny to Vanderbilt."
Wow.
And I don't blame them. I mean, if I had a son, I'd want him to go there, and I know he couldn't get in there. They're also you're disqualified if you're from Nashville, Atlanta, or Dallas. Those are knocked down as well.
Really?
Oh, yep. They want you to be from Alaska, or again, diversity. I mean, not just racial or any kind of problems, but it's geographic diversity. They wanted someone from every country, every state, and there's just not enough spaces. So I have issues with that. I don't understand the thinking of it, and I don't understand. Martha Ingram wrote a check for $1 billion to Vanderbilt. She wrote 8 letters of recommendation that year for kids who all qualified to get in, and none of them got in. I would have ripped that check up. I mean, I do believe in nepotism to an extent in things like college. Your son or grandson, there should be a family history there. I believe in that with the fire department too. I think in terms of hiring for the fire department, who's going to run into a burning building first? Your cousin or somebody who got hired because they're from Guam and has no ties to Nashville or the fire department. But because they're from Guam, they got the job.
Back to Vanderbilt, what fraternity, and do you still hold allegiance to your frat?
I do, Kappa Sig, and we have a big homecoming thing every year. We have a scholarship fund. I'm legal counsel when necessary. Good bunch of kids. And what's neat about the fraternity system is now these kids are from all over the world, which we didn't used to have, and with local kids as well. But I mean, a kid from Seychelles, I hadn't even heard of Seychelles yet. Super nice kid. And so it's a lot more. I hate the word diversity, but just it's more like a Benetton ad in a fraternity house now. It's not a bunch of rich white kids, drunk. I mean, it's people from everywhere, and I do like that part about it. So that's where I'm conflicted with Vanderbilt a little bit. I'm also not happy about tailgates. So Vanderbilt has a thing called Vandyville. It's 150 tents way out to Natchez Trace, number 150, and you get to 1 and 2, which are closest to the stadium. And you earn your way up there, chronologically and over time. That's what it means. But we've tailgated for like 37 years, the same group. So we are now tents number 1 and 2.
Wow.
The same guys, class of 85, 86, 87. 6 different fraternities and sororities, independents, all live in Nashville. And it's just a really fun group. And we take turns cooking and preparing food and stuff. So each tent, they used to be about $500 a year, and myself and the other guy would pay for it. And they went up last year to $1,700, and we were kind of, we bit the bullet. This year, Vanderbilt raised the price to $5,500 per tent. So we're being charged $11,000 for 7 games. And they tear the tent down at halftime, too. You don't even get to use it after the game. It's a 10 by 10 tent, a table, and 10 chairs. $11,000. That's like half a week on Nantucket. I mean, that's crazy. Who's going to pay that? We are, because we're tents number 1 and 2. We're not going to give it up. And Vanderbilt knows that. They've got us.
In fairness, Adam called in a correction here. He misspoke about the $5,500. It's not quite that much, but it's still been a substantial increase.
So I'm not happy with him about that. I mean, and I'm so psyched for Pavia, and that's great for the athletic department, but don't use that as an excuse to take advantage of the people who've been with you through thick and thin forever. And so that's a conflict I have with them as well. I'm very conflicted.
I noticed. Did you like Nashville right off the bat?
I liked Nashville once I got to know it, but at Vanderbilt, I didn't get to know Nashville. As far as I went away was Faison's in Hillsborough Village, and we weren't allowed to go downtown back then. It was too dangerous. So after I got out of college, I started going around Nashville, more in the music clubs and things. And yes, I loved it immediately then. But it was just a giant campus for me at first.
Yeah, but a Pittsburgh guy. I mean, were you catching heat for accent and the way you dressed?
I was catching heat because I actually left Pittsburgh and grew up in Palm Beach, Florida, in God's waiting room. And that's how I got here, through Palm Beach, actually. So there's a lot of Floridians, and I got grief for having no accent, really. Pittsburgh I still have ties to as well, though. I left there at 13, and then Palm Beach.
So high school years in Palm Beach?
I did. Yep, Palm Beach Academy. I'm very proud to say I graduated 4th in my class. I like to brag about that. And then I'd say there's only 13 people in my class, but I was still number 4. And we're all still, we all still keep together, my whole Palm Beach crew. Everyone's moved off the island. This is kind of ironic, too. My mother, I dress a little fancy and stuff, but I'm not a child of means. My mom took a job as a secretary at my high school so I could go there for free.
Really?
Because my father had cut her off, but that's a whole other podcast. Anyway, so I was the secretary's kid in high school, and there isn't a kid I graduated with that hasn't either asked me for money directly or to go into some sort of business with them, because all these kids of privilege assumed they were going to inherit all this money. And these are sons of scions and daughters of scions. They have no money. Their parents spent all the money, and they don't know how to work. And they've all moved off the island. They're all in West Palm now. Nobody lives on the island anymore. It's sad. It's interesting, but everyone's still tight through thick and thin, which is nice.
So what did you work at in high school?
High school, I started washing dishes at 13 at Joey's Deli. By 15, I was weekend manager at 15 years old. And at that time, all my friends could come in and drink beer at $1 a mug because I was the manager. The age was 18 then, but we were all like 15, 16. But that was fun. And then I've stayed with restaurants pretty much ever since in some way, shape, or form. I mean, fast forward to now, I'm general counsel for Sperry's and Sam's and Zanies and the Improvs and entertainment and food service business. So it started at 13, which I think every kid should work in a restaurant for at least 6 months because the life skills, not just working with restaurant workers, but how to deal with customers and how to deal with messes and just being in the weeds. And
attitude.
Attitude, sure. And I was hoping Trump would do something like Israel, where every 18-year-old had to go in the army for 3 years or a year under the same roof. It could be Peace Corps. It didn't have to necessarily be military.
But service.
But service, where you're all equal under the same roof for a while. And, Israel doesn't have street gangs. All these rich, poor, whatever, they've all lived and worked together. And I think that would be a big cure for America. But at the very least, if every kid worked in a restaurant, they would be polite to people in restaurants. They would learn how to wait, patience, manners, how to deal with people who don't speak the same language. I mean, there's so many unwritten skills in the restaurant industry that you can only get there.
Bad habits, though, too.
Well, there's drinking, of course. Us drinking at 15, but we were drinking then anyhow. There's some bad habits, but it's I think it's less and less. I mean, as doing DUI defense, you'd think I'd get a lot of bartenders and things. So, but restaurants have changed too. Like before, if you worked a shift as a waiter or waitress, you could, after your shift, sit at the bar and drink. Now, obviously, the bartender is going to give you stronger drinks, et cetera, and you could run into some drinking problems or drinking and driving problems. Now at our restaurants, you're not allowed to drink at the restaurant you work at. You just can't even do it. And it makes sense in a lot of ways. It puts, it's opening a seat for a real paying customer, and you're not running into the risk of those people just bumming around there after work. So I think that's a good policy, and I insist all my places do that. And it works. So the DUIs are down in that industry.
Yeah.
It's interesting watching DUIs and the economy and things like, in COVID and what happens. Like DUIs were way down during COVID, but liquor sales skyrocketed, liquor store sales.
People drinking at home?
Right. Domestic violence skyrocketed. Divorces fell down because they couldn't afford to get divorced. They just stayed home, drank, and fought all during COVID. It was like the worst thing ever for the world, in my opinion. I mean, the side things, you don't think about what it caused. And that was a real breakdown. But yeah, I'd get more domestic violence calls, and I really don't like doing that kind of law. I just try to stay away from it. But you're getting those calls because they're drinking at home and sick of each other.
It's Banner and Company. I'm Demetria Kalodimos. We'll be right back. Before you went to law school and got that JD, you were pretty serious about stand-up?
I did. So I was serious about stand-up in the late 80s, early 90s.
And who was big then?
Gosh, Leno.
I saw Leno at Zanies, just to give you a
Jerry
idea.
Seinfeld. When I was doing it, Amazing Jonathan, Carrot Top. I worked with Carrot Top. I toured with Amazing Jonathan.
I had dinner with Carrot Top once.
Did you? At Sunset? That was his favorite restaurant.
It might have been Sunset.
Yeah.
And he was doing table tricks.
Well, I did Win a Date with Carrot Top on my radio show, and he and I would do that every time he came to town, and it was always fun. He's great. He's in Vegas now. He looks a little different. He kind of roided out, but he's still the same great guy, and see him whenever I go out there. But so back then, there was no Comedy Central, so we were touring with different circuits. I was on the Comedy Zone circuit, which was basically a weekend in Charlotte, but the 2 or 3 nights before, you'd be in like Harrisonburg or some little town, Wilson, and then you had your weekend gigs. So 3 of us would tour together, opener, middle, headliner. And my first tour, I was out, my headliner was a guy, he said he's going to be real famous. He was from Ohio, and he just kind of beat her car. He goes, "Watch me, man, I'm going to be famous." I go, "I bet you will." And that was Steve Harvey, was the first guy I toured with.
Really?
Yep, in Florida. And what a great guy. And he was dead set, and he was dead on, and he nailed it. It's great seeing so many of these guys who've hit it, who just stuck with it. And Nate Bargatze, I'm such a huge fan, local kid.
Yeah. So we had his dad on the podcast.
I saw that.
Who was great.
Steve is wonderful. Yeah. We did a fundraiser at Zanies during COVID. It was Nate, myself, and Dusty Slay, and a couple other guys. And it was for the staff. It was no audience, and it was a live fundraiser where people could just type in questions for comedians just about the road and stuff. And Brian Dorfson's brother Andrew was, catching all those. And we raised $23,000 in an hour live from Zanies for the staff because they were, obviously couldn't come in and work.
So why did you step away from comedy? I mean, you could have been that Steve Harvey, I'm going to make it.
It's kind of weird. And I get asked that a lot. I was on the road a lot, like 70 different hotels a year. And that first couple seconds when you wake up in the morning, if you don't know where you are, I mean, that's a real panic, like a panic attack thing. And I kind of got tired of it. So I tried to figure out a way that I could still entertain and not be on the road. So I went into radio. And Coyote McLeod reached out to me to write for him, to write comedy for him. So I started writing comedy. I go, wait a minute, I think I could do this better myself. So I talked to Ned Horton down at Lightning 100 and Thunder 94, and I went on board there and went up the charts pretty quickly.
Yeah, radio's so much fun.
It's such a blast. And podcasting must be so much fun as well.
It is. I mean, I love not having to be on camera.
Oh, yeah.
Although now we're turning cameras on the podcast.
I know, it's
so
making me a
my
little
whole
nervous.
gig is.
At first I thought it was a cassette, but it is a phone. That's cool. Excuse me.
Did you really shoot a reality show about your own life?
We shot Judge Dredd was the show that was shot. It was a reality judge show called Judge Dredd, and I was the host, or I was the judge. And basically it was an on-air parole board. So a guy would come out, let's say they're only for jail, not prison. Jail meaning 11 months, 29 days, prison being more than that. So in their last couple months, you'll see these, I still call them chain gangs, but going out for the sheriff's department and working, volunteering at charities. Yeah, they used to put my tents up, Oyster Easter, stuff like that. They're not going to run because they've got a month or two left. If they run and get caught, they have to start at zero again. So the sheriffs don't even carry guns. These guys are just ready to get out. So I talked to a bunch of them, found out their stories. And when a defendant gets on the stand, you'll never hear, or you don't put the defendant on the stand. You just put the people that are prosecuting him on the stand. You've never heard the defendant's story. So a guy could go to jail for arson, but he's never said the reason he burned his neighbor's house down is because he caught the guy in his house the night before peeing on pictures of his grandmother, or some great story like that you've never known about the guy. And it's like, well, should he still be in jail? And if so, could he do some programs, anger management? If there's alcohol involved, can we do another program there? Speed his time out and get him back out. And the show was going to pay different sheriff's departments to do the show there, which would go into their program funds for those programs. So Fox loved the idea and flew me out to L.A., and we shot at Fox TV out in L.A.
Did you wear a robe and hold nine?
I did the whole thing. And I had this, central casting bailiff. And we had the guys were real. My producers went down and got them walking out of the jail, basically, to tell their stories. And they got paid to do it. But the fun, I added a little element of surprise. So the wife could come out then and tell her story, why her husband should come out. Well, then the girlfriend comes out, the wife doesn't know about, to say why he should come out. It turns into Jerry Springer. Ratings go through the roof.
Chairs thrown, broken noses.
So that was kind of the plan.
Who was the most surprised when you said, I'm going to be a lawyer?
Oh, gosh, me probably, because I really didn't want to be a lawyer. I was doing it to make myself a better politician. I just thought if I'm going to be writing laws, I should know a little bit more about the law. And I never thought I would actually practice law when I started doing it. DUI Mike came to me, asked me to come work with him, and I was like, I can't do that. And I started playing around with DUIs, and it was kind of fun, interesting stuff to do. Bart Durham came to me. I mean, I think all these guys came to me more in name recognition. Mm-hmm. And then Blair Durham came to me when I got out of law school, and we started an office together, and we got the poison pet food case immediately, and that was through name recognition. And kind of got the legal bug then.
Give me the thumbnail sketch of the poison pet, because I want to get to your health.
Okay.
Before your time is up.
All right. Yeah, exactly. I feel like this is like my obituary. So, Menu Foods in China, giant conglomerate that sells Old Roy here and a bunch of
Old Roy.
foods.
Didn't George Jones shill for Old Roy?
He might have. Yeah. I mean, there are about 50 companies that all had stuff produced by Menu. Menu is putting plastic in the food to save money on food.
As filler.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was getting caught in little animal systems and killing them. Big dogs, it would go right through them. But little dogs were dying. And we found out about it. And we had a necropsy done on a dog. And I guess Banffy was the name of the place. It's tied with some big vet place that actually was tied in with Menu Foods. All those companies somehow worked together. Anyway, we found out what it was. We kind of advertised around that. We got people calling us these stories, and the saddest were these women, mainly women or men, who had the cat. Their partner died, and they had this cat who basically replaced the partner. And that's what got me interested in cats. But we were Tennessee's plaintiffs. We had 110 clients, and we got money for all of them. And Blair and I didn't keep a penny. It actually cost us money. But,
how hard is that to take on a foreign company?
Well, they all had big lawyers here, and they wanted to settle. They wanted to be back in business. So we never really had any direct dealings with them.
So can we be assured today that there's not plastic in pet food?
I mean, there's plastic in everything, unfortunately. And, it's kind of funny with my cat. who's very spoiled, Bonnie. She's very picky, so she does eat a lot of Sperry's cocktail shrimp. It's her favorite food. Not Kroger shrimp. Nobody else's shrimp.
Is this
Sperry's.
leftover to go, or do you order it specifically?
No, it has her name on the bag when I go and get it. They know it, and it's cute. But no, anything for your animals. It's such unconditional love. And, with pets, I don't have any kids, and I've been married a lot. But so the pets, though, like, they're our best friend for a part of our life, but we're their best friends for their whole life. So there's really a bond, and I take it very seriously. I mean, I have no problem shooting a person, but I could never shoot a pet. Did I say that out loud?
You just did. Why do guys think they don't like cats?
I wrote an article. It's in Focus, unless it was 404'd. I was talking to Steve about 404ing stuff, called Real Men Own Cats. And, I always said as a lawyer, I said, if I could train a cat, I can train a jury. And it's kind of true. But my cats sit, stay, fetch, human toilet. They'll do anything.
Walk on a leash?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Bonnie loves Ace Hardware on a leash. And she rides around the cart, too. I've got pictures. That's on if you go to YouTube, look up Bonnie Dread, the toilet-trained cat on YouTube, and you can see her using a toilet and an Ace Hardware. And she loves the beach, which is kind of rare for cats.
So have you monetized Bonnie's talents?
I've not. It's kind of almost too personal.
Yeah.
But if the right agent came, I talked to CAA, though. Do you have a cat agent?
No,
Just kind of kidding around.
I would like to ask you a little bit about your stroke.
Okay.
Some years ago that made news.
It did.
And then it revealed a pretty serious condition that I think a lot of people can learn from.
Well, there's more to the story now. May 30th, 2003, I had a headache the night before. I'm in law school, and it was in the back of my...
Killer headache? Or?
No, I don't really get headaches, so it just was pain back here on my neck. Went to my local CVS, got aspirin, went home, went to bed. Got up the next morning. I was at Green Hills Post Office, and I started feeling really warm. So I went out to my Jeep, turned on the AC, cranked it. That's my last memory. Green Hills, Hillsborough Road. I was found on Franklin Road, 4 miles away. I had driven off a cliff across from FRA, down an embankment, through a wall and into a tree, and I'd coded. And so they brought me back to life. I coded again in the ambulance. I'm at Vanderbilt. I'm in a coma for about 13 hours. I wake up, Pastor Enoch Fuzz is laying hands on me when I popped out of my coma. And he said, my first question, he said, Adam, you said, did I hurt anybody? Because I guess I remembered I was driving. But the sad part is there's no white light. There was nothing like that. It was just, death was just sleep. Or it didn't hit me. I wasn't going to go at that time, and God knew it. So I didn't see any white light welcoming me or anything. But so it turns out I tested for the markers of something called the lupus coagulant disorder. And that's a hereditary blood thickening gene that they don't test for. You only find out about it if you have a stroke. So I was put on Coumadin, which is warfarin, a very severe blood thinner. And I had to get tested every month to keep your levels straight. And until I needed it, it was only open to heart patients at Vanderbilt. But because I was good friends with Chancellor Gee at the time and in the press around it, they opened it up to stroke patients. And my neurologist said, Adam, because of the press and you guys on the how it happened with the headache and everything, so we stopped 3 of those last year. People came in and said, I think I'm going to have a stroke because I have the same symptoms Adam did, and they did, and they got a TPA shot and they didn't have a stroke. Silver lining, taking one for the team.
Yeah.
But so fast forward, last May 16th, I was walking into court or across James Robertson. My heel fell off my shoe. And I didn't know it. And I did a full banana peel, just split. And I got up and I did it again because I didn't know I didn't have a heel. And I ripped all my hamstrings in my right leg. Went into court, bloody leg and everything, won 3 cases. Heading back to my office, and I called my doctor. I go, something's just not right. I really hurt myself. It goes, go to the ER. And my hamstrings were crushed. I mean, ripped. I was in the hospital for 5 days for that. So that was May. Fast forward to July 22nd, this last summer, I was found non-responsive in my bed at I go to bed pretty early on Nantucket. I get up at like 5 in the morning and start working. I'm at the beach by 11. I just have this kind of routine. So I was found about 5 in the afternoon. So went to bed probably at 9 at night. What happened, it turned out, they life flighted me from the island to the mainland to Brigham and Women's in Boston. I had a 5.5-hour craniotomy. Yeah. What had happened was my leg hurt so bad, I didn't realize I hit my head when I fell in May. And there was a tiny little break, and it got bigger and bigger, and it finally just started bleeding. And so Brigham and Women's Hospital found it. The craziest part is, I said, I need my Coumadin. They said, no, you don't. You don't have the markers for the lupus coagulant disorder. And I'm like, you're telling me I've been on this medicine for 22 years and I don't have it? And I was a little bit shocked, and I double checked and everything. I don't, but people are like, you should sue this. I go, no, I shouldn't, because number one, your bodies change over time. My allergies change every year. Every 7 years, your whole allergy system changes. But I said, I might have had it at the time, and I probably did, and Vanderbilt saved my life. I'm not going to go say you did something wrong. I've been alive for all this time until then. Would I still be alive if I was still on Coumadin? Of course I would. You know, it was the fall that led to that. So I am off Coumadin, which means I had my first salad in 22 years. You're not allowed to have green leafy vegetables on Coumadin.
I didn't know that.
No beets, no cashews,
anything
anything
have
with
to
vitamin
put me
K.
away.
So my diet was just brutal. But so a lot of pizza places love me. But so I've gotten a little healthier since then. And again, it wasn't my time again. I don't even really remember anything. I wish I remembered the helicopter flight, because it was during Shark Week going over the ocean. That would have been kind of cool. But no memories of that at all. And I was there for about 8 days, I guess. And then I went to a Spalding Center on the Cape for a little bit of rehab. And they wanted to keep me longer, and I didn't like being there. There's a whole other podcast about how healthcare changes at night, the night staff from the day staff. Anyway, I had an event I had to host for Alzheimer's called Ice Out Alls with hockey players, with Hal Gill from Nashville, flying to Nashville to Nantucket, and we host it every year. So I had to be there for that. So I just got up, got an Uber, and walked out of the rehab place, got to the boat, got to Nantucket, got picked up, and raised about $25,000 for Alzheimer's that night that I got out of the hospital. Rehab.
You were telling me that it's almost impossible for you to live part-time, to leisure in Nantucket as you used to.
Oh yeah, it's tough. I've written several books that called "You've Spent Time on Nantucket If," and the first one came out in 2000. It said someday the billionaires are going to ruin it for the millionaires. That's actually happened. It's actually kind of happening here too, but much bigger scale on Nantucket, where college kids, like I went from Vanderbilt in junior year, a bunch of us rented a house, 3 or 4 of us per room, but we had a house. Those are gone. There's nothing like that anymore. Unless your parents or grandparents own a house, you can't live there in the summer. And if your grandparents or parents own a house, you may not have the strongest work ethic in the world, because you probably never had to work. So college kids can't really go get jobs for the summer. So we end up having to fly or boat workers over in the daytime. They're flying cashiers to work at the Stop and Shop, our Kroger, per shift. They fly them there and fly them back to the mainland because it's cheaper than housing them. And that's going to end. It's going to have to end. It's so fuel prices, et cetera, and bad weather. So there's nowhere for these people to live. And people are leaving Nantucket right and left. It's unbelievable. We have trouble keeping teachers, nurses, et cetera. It's a nightmare housing-wise.
Yeah, it seems like, the society there would sooner or later kind of dry up, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they complain about they don't have their landscapers aren't here. Well, give them your guest house.
Yeah.
Lease it out. So we're there's some projects in the works that I'm helping out a little bit with for Nantucket housing. And we do, my church, we do something for the J1 visas. They're the kids from Europe who come over, and some of them are already out of school. They can work later in the fall. Now there's certain houses that 20 of them will live in a 2 or 3 bedroom. And, but we have a bicycle library. So we give them all bicycles, about 200 bikes every summer that goes out.
Do you think something like that could work? Nashville's got an affordability crisis for the working class and the service workers?
They do, but what Nashville does have those, you can drive a little further out and a little further out. And we're
on an island,
we're
forget
ocean,
it.
yeah. So you're stuck there. Yeah, that's tough too. I mean, I don't think, when I got out of college at Vanderbilt, I rented a house over by Belmont, a rock house with a bunch of musicians, and it was 4 bedrooms, and it was $300 a month. And that house is now torn down in a McMansion. But that was so funny. I was up in Nantucket for the summer. I rented a house, but I was up working. I came back, and there's this kid living in basically a closet. And there's a mattress in there, and I knew him. And I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I live here now." I go, "Oh, really? Well, you're going to have to start paying rent then." He goes, "What?" I go, "Yeah, it's $45 a month." And he's like, "Blank you, Adam." Picked up his stuff and left. Few years later, he got kicked out of a band called the Black Crows. But, Hi, Jeff. Anyway, so that was kind of funny. So I kicked out a Black Crow because he wouldn't pay $45 a month.
It's Banner and Company. And my guest is Adam Dredd, attorney, former Metro Councilman and stand-up comedian, and devoted cat dad. We'll be right back.
Hey, everybody, you know what? I believe everybody's got to pay something or it's not worth anything. It's like I won't take pro bono law cases at all anymore. You have to pay something or it's not worth anything. Your free clients will call you at 4 a.m. with the stupidest thing. They don't appreciate it. If you win the case, they don't appreciate it. If you lose, they really don't. If you charge them $1, all of a sudden they're more respectful of your time and of what you do.
Now you got term limited out of council.
I did.
Would you ever go back to any sort of political pursuit?
Well, yes and no. I've changed political parties now. I'm now a fascist. I don't think anyone should vote but me. It's all up to me. Kind of kidding. But I think the system now is so flawed that there's too many of them. 40 people. How are you going to get anything done? You know, a camel's just a horse designed by a committee, basically. They're getting nothing done. They're fighting, the infighting. It's you know, I don't like how the system works, to be honest with you. So in terms of that, no, I wouldn't do that. Would I consider like the sheriff's gig on Nantucket? Possibly something like that with my own office, which is an elected job. And, you know, it's
Dredd with a badge?
Oh, yeah, that's it. A new sheriff in town. Now, there you basically just transport inmates on and off island and serve civil warrants. But they do bicycle programs. They do a lot of community service work as well. I do. On Nantucket, what I love is the community service, and everybody does get so involved. I have the Nantucket Clean Team, and it's a whole crew, and folks from here come do it, from Nashville when they're up. If you're my house guest, you have to do it. It's a rule. Saturday morning at 8 a.m., we're on a different beach or a different bike trail or road for an hour picking up trash, and then DPW comes, picks it up. We're getting thousands and thousands of pounds of trash. And it's, you know, the litter thing is a problem. It's not necessarily intentional. It's landscaping trucks, stuff blows off, stuff like that. We're seeing more of that here, too. Cover your trucks, guys.
Have you ever found anything valuable or scary?
Scary stuff, yeah, but not valuable. And dangerous, sharp, you know, metal objects, things like that. But I do love doing that. And again, I'm up that early anyhow. And it's a lot of the crew. These are, you know, they wanted to, as a way to have kids who get in trouble to come do their public service. Like, we don't want them. They're just going to stand there and look at their watches and their phones while we pick up trash. They can do something else for community service. I mean, we're serious about it.
Sounds like it.
And it's sponsored. I mean, we got a check from the New England Convenience Store Association. So we went out and bought all new big grabbers and stuff. And little kids, I love the little kid part of it because people ring their bike bells or honk or wave and say thank you. So it teaches kids the importance of keeping your world clean.
Banner and Company is a production of the new Nashville Banner. This episode is produced by Steve Haruch and Andrea Tudhope and edited by me. The original music is by Verlin Thompson. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or go to NashvilleBanner.com. You're in good company. Our final question is in the pink gravel fishbowl.
Uh-oh.
The pink gravel is especially for you because it
matches everything I own.
Everything.
Pretty much. Real men wear pink.
Yep.
I have to reach around there and get it.
Yeah, I think we only got one question today, but we know you can handle it.
No, Demetria, I'm sorry. I have a girlfriend. No. What does Nashville need right now? Oof. I think it needs a whole new administration in a lot of ways. It needs these taxes to be, this tax problem needs to get solved on property taxes. We're killing the exact thing that brings people to Nashville. These businesses can't stay open. And I'm not just talking about, the giant ones and, honky-tonk centrals. Layla's is the only honky-tonk owned by a woman. And it's one story with a little balcony. And her taxes went from $33,000 to $117,000 this year. And she can't afford that. She can't stay open with so that's got to change. That's what Nashville needs, is reformation of the whole tax structure, perhaps some sort of historic entertainment zone thing like that. I think that's what we really need to keep going forward. We need to, and get rid of these bike lanes. But I represented our 8th Avenue on the bike lane thing when they first tried to force bike lanes on 8th Avenue. And we counted the numbers, and it's like, why would literally tens of thousands of cars, why are you going to inconvenience tens of thousands of cars for literally tens of bicycles?